cameras need to be on. Make sure that you have them on. Okay, guys. All right, thank you. So today we'll continue with the listening section and we'll move on to the lectures. So we'll hold on. Okay. All right. So we've said that in the listening part, you will have two types of tasks, right? At the beginning, you will get the conversations, which were between a student and a campus worker about a student's problem inside campus. And then we said that you also have the lectures. So we're going to be looking at this now. Now, you will have 3 or 4 of them according to the number of tasks you get. And each lecture has 6 questions, right? So, okay, guys, so the first thing we need to do is try to define what a lecture is. So anybody knows what a lecture is? Can anybody tell me?
It's not like a reading, no?
Okay, not exactly. I mean, it is like a reading, but it's not actually reading, right? This is a spoken material. So it is not, by the way, a lecture is not a lectura in Spanish. It's different. So it's not a reading. It's actually something that you will listen to. It's a class. I think that's the best way to define it. So a lecture basically is any explanation on a topic. So it's the explanation of a certain topic, usually by a teacher, by a professor, by somebody who's explaining it. And in this case, more specifically, you will have a college class. So it's going to be a university class, the professor explaining a topic, an academic topic. Okay, so that's the difference from the conversations. You no longer have these casual conversations. This is an academic thing, which might make it a bit harder because of the vocabulary. There are some words that you maybe don't know because of the topics, and also because of the speed, maybe in general. But it's still, it's not rocket science. So, okay. Guys, please remember that your cameras need to be on. So Diego Gaston, whenever you're able to. Okay, so what I was saying about the lectures. Now, if you're wondering how the structure of this lecture is, I think that's the most important part. Well, at the beginning, you will have a short introduction. So the professor will walk into the class and start explaining what the topic will be. So there's the introduction. You may have sometimes a definition. The main idea of the topic will be explained there. So for example, if the topic is on solar power, then maybe the professor starts by saying something like, hey class, today we'll be looking at solar power. And then you have the structure of the lecture. Maybe you have something like, and the different types of solar power, or maybe the different costs or the different effects, or a brief story on how it started, or maybe its uses. I don't know, okay? But you will have something in there. So that's the introduction. Sometimes you also have like a short definition, like, okay, so solar power is this and this and that. So that's the introduction, is like 30 seconds long. And then the topic will be broken down into different subtopics. So that's the part where it gets a bit complicated, because I cannot tell you how exactly this topic will be organized. All right, it could be in many different ways. For example, here are some ideas. Sometimes you have like theory and evidence, especially if it's like biology, physics, chemistry, any science. So maybe Charles Darwin theory of evolution and different pieces of evidence supporting it. Maybe you have cause and effect. So if it's pollution, maybe you can have something like the effects of pollution or the causes of pollution. You know, when you have events, discoveries, phenomenon, usually you will figure that out by the transitions. So if you have something like as a result, thus, therefore, that's probably cause and effect. Sometimes in biology, you have like steps of a process. So maybe, let's say the embryonic development. Okay, so first, you have the development of the heart. Second, the organs. Lately or lastly, this. Okay, so sometimes you have like a recipe in there. Sometimes it's a comparison between two things. So capitalism versus communism, its differences, its similarities. So those are some ideas on how it could be organized. But there are many more, okay? Sometimes you have biographies. So sometimes you have a history, I don't know, like a history note. So I cannot tell you, but it'll basically be broken down into different subtopics. And you will have a lot of facts, some examples, some opinions, theories, studies, statistics, things like that. Now, something else I could say about the lectures is that most of the questions in this case will be detailed. That means that most of your questions are going to be looking like this. So maybe you have a main idea at the beginning, one function and purpose, but most of them, the majority will be detailed questions, which means that you do need to pay attention to detail. All right, so whenever you have things like dates or numbers or concepts or names or I don't know, definitions, opinions, historical events, anything such could be in your answers, in your questions, sorry. So that's why taking notes is key. Okay, I suggest that you guys practice note taking because sometimes it'll be too fast and everything is gonna come flying and you're just gonna have to take notes and listen at the same time. So practice note taking, listen to anything academic, could be any articles, sometimes even news that helps. All right, and try to take notes. And finally, it could be a lecture with a single speaker or a more dynamic class. So what I mean here is sometimes it's just the professor. You don't have any students involved. So it's just the professor going on and on and on about something. I don't like them personally because I think they are more robotic, less enjoyable. It's like if they were just reading something. So you may have a lot of, maybe it's a bit harder to follow the lecture. And sometimes you have a more dynamic class where the professor and the students are discussing something. And in that case, what I could say is just pay attention to who says what, because sometimes there's a confusion in there and you don't know whether that's something that the professor said, that the student said. The students are not always right, so if the professor asks something like, okay, so what's, I don't know, what's birth rate? And a student has an answer to that, that could be right or that could be wrong, So if in your questions, you have the same question, you need to make sure that you got the right one, not the wrong idea, So pay attention, identify who says what. And in general, I could say just make sure that you listen to how the professor speaks, because sometimes the professor repeats something or emphasizes a lot on an idea. Sometimes the professor asks some questions. And usually whenever the professor asks a question or is repeating something, that means that it's important. And anything that's important is going to be in your questions. So pay attention to that, to how the professor raises their voice, how professor changes the tone. Maybe if they joke about something, try to pay attention. All right, guys, so any questions so far? Or is everything okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'm not going to repeat the tips. These are the same that I gave you guys for the conversations part. Some things I could add is try to think like you were a student. So like you were about to take a quiz on whatever it is that the lecture was about, you know? So what would they want you to know? What's the important things that you need to remember? One more, pay attention to transition words. They're going to help you big time because they show you how everything is connected. So if you have something like, okay, now let's look at, or on the other hand, or another important, as a result, let's move on to, in conclusion, by contrast, pay attention to those transition words. They will let you know how the lecture is organized. So if you have something like in contrast, you know that it's a comparison. If you have something like as a result, therefore, then it's probably cause effect. Furthermore, it's adding to another idea, you know, a difference of topic. Conclusion, so pay attention to those transition words. They are a hell of a help. And one more thing, where is it? This is kind of obvious, but I gotta say it anyway. Make sure that you just forget about everything that's not in the lecture. You know that everything that you need to answer the questions will be in the lecture. So sometimes you know about the topic, you know, maybe it's about solar power, and maybe that's your area of expertise. Maybe you're an expert in solar power. But the questions are not for you to have any knowledge about the topic, you know, so just remember that everything you need will be in the lecture. So please don't, you know, try to use the information that you had previous to that in order to answer the questions. Okay, everything's supposed to be from the lecture. Okay, guys. So I think that'll be it. I don't know if you guys have any questions now. All right. So one more thing I can say about your notes. The only thing I could say is just make sure that they follow the same order, that they are organized in the same way as the lecture. So for example, if you have cause and effect, maybe you can have some arrows drawn there. Maybe if it's a biography, you can draw like a timeline, if it's a historical note, in order to have everything organized in chronological order, in order not to miss any details. So try to figure out how the lecture will be organized at the beginning. And then you will know how to organize your notes as well. Use the right amount of space. Actually, today we'll be looking at how to take notes. We're going to do some practice on that. So hope that helps. Okay, guys. So if you don't have any questions, we're going to be looking at an example. Okay. So we're going to listen to this lecture. Please get a piece of paper. And what we will do is we'll listen to it. You'll take notes. I'm going to take notes too. And after we're done, we're going to take a picture of our notes and send it to the group, okay, to the WhatsApp group, so that we can take a look at them, maybe compare them for a bit, and then we'll discuss what it was about. So please make sure that you take notes. And let's go. You guys ready? I'm going to play this.
Hello, class. So today we're going to be looking at facial recognition and to the different sorts of technology that go into facial recognition. Now, before we start, can any of you tell me where we can see facial recognition in action? Yes, you at the back?
In the TV show Las Vegas?
Well, you're right. In this popular TV show, the security team pull images of the individuals from their surveillance system and run the image through a database to identify the person. In that way, all the card counters and blacklisted gamblers can be escorted from the poker tables. It looks easy on TV, but in the real world, facial recognition is a tricky business. So let's start with the more traditional methods of facial recognition. Every face has peaks and valleys, and these can be translated into what is termed as nodal points. Each face has about 80 of these, and they include distance between the eyes, the length of the jaw, the width of the nose, things like that. These measurements can be used to create a numerical. This is called a face print. This system is good because it can compare two-dimensional images such as photographs. The problem is that images have to be controlled. The person has to be staring straight at the camera. There must be no variance in facial expression or lighting because any variance in these parameters reduces the effectiveness of the system. So they had to come up with another way. So the new way of recognizing faces is by using a 3D model. It has better accuracy allegedly. 3D imagery detects these features of the face such as curves of the eyes, nose, and chin, features which do not change over time. These are measured at the sub-millimeter level. Interestingly, a 3D image can be taken not only from a live scan, but also from a 2D photograph. And another good thing about the 3D system is that it can recognize a person from a range of angles. The person doesn't have to be directly facing the camera as in 2D technology. Once again, the system gives each individual a unique code, a set of numbers that represents the face. It's easy to match a 3D image to another 3D image if you already have a 3D image in your database. It's less easy to match 3D images to 2D images. But what they can do is pull certain measurements from the 3D image, such as the eye and so forth, and use this to convert the 3D image into a 2D image, and this image can be more easily compared to the 2D images in the database. But it's not just the measurements which can be used to recognize faces. There's also a new development called skin biometrics. This uses the uniqueness of skin texture to get its results. The process takes a picture of a patch of skin, and the system will then identify any pores, lines, moles, blemishes, and other features of skin texture. This method can be used to identify identical twins, something that cannot be done with the 3D technology. Its other advantages over 3D imagery are that it's insensitive to changes in expression, blinking, smiling, and so forth, and can compensate for changes in facial features, such as the growth of a beard or wearing glasses. It's not perfect, though, as it is sensitive to lighting conditions and poor camera resolution, and if there is glare from the sun. So, now we've covered the main types of facial recognition, we'll move on to its uses. Now, has anybody here... Hello, class.
All right. So, okay, guys. So please now, if you could take a picture of your notes and send it to the group, I'll do that too. I'll send you mine. Okay, guys, so do that. Okay, so send it. All right, so I think I just got one. Okay, somebody else. Okay, so let's leave that there for a second. And all right, I'm gonna ask you something. So Who can tell me what the lecture was about? What was the lecture about?
Different ways of technology to recognize facials.
Okay. All right, nice. Different technologies to recognize faces or different technologies of facial recognition. That's true. How many of them do we have?
3.
3.
They
Nice. Okay. Now, which ones were they?
Face pics, 3D model, and skin biometrics.
Okay, that's correct. 3D model, skin biometric. I think the first one was maybe 2D. 2D, 3D, and skin biometrics. Okay. Now, what about them? What does the professor say about each type? Is there any other way in which the professor organizes the lecture? And any other thing you could say?
I think that 3D is better than 2D.
Okay, the 3D is better than 2D, that's correct. What else? Okay, so you're right. I think each one is like an improvement of the previous one. So the 3D is better than the 2D, and the skin biometric is probably better than the 3D one. And that's because, if I'm not mistaken, they also talk about like the advantages and problems of each type. So they're like, okay, so the 2D has these advantages, it can do this and this and that. However, it has these shortcomings. So it cannot do this and this and that. And then, however, the 3D, they had to create the 3D, which is able to do these things, so its advantages, and it has these problems. And then the same about the skin biometric technology. So I think maybe that's another way how you have this organized. Wouldn't you say? So, okay, let's take a look at your notes. Let's go here first. All right. So here we have, I think this is Andreas. All right, so first thing I would say, it is okay. I like that you're using like signs and everything else to help you out, but I would try to have more information. You know, the lecture was actually quite long. It had a lot of information in there, and I don't know if this is going to be enough to answer all the questions, right? It talks about, okay, first we have something about the TV show, poker tables, okay, that's the example. Image has to be controlled, the 3D model, live scan, recognize the person, compare 3D, 2D, lines, changes, and expressions, smile. But I'm not really looking at the 3 types, right? 2D, 3D, skin bio, they should be very visual, and its characteristics, we have its characteristics, but maybe I'm sure they were more, okay? So a little bit more would be nice. And also make sure that you kind of highlight the 3 of them, and if you can separate them from like, okay, it's positive characteristics and its problems. That's gonna make your life easier. So this is somebody else's. So again, I think this is too little, all right? I just have something about facial recognition. All right, 3D and 2D. Take photos, expressions. All right, so again, it's too little, guys. You need to make sure you have notes from every part, okay? So what facial recognition is, what's the example they give, what the first type, what are their problems, their advantages, the second type, so on. All right, if you have any definitions, it needs to be there because I don't know if you're gonna be able to remember. Try to have something else. So I'll show you mine in a bit. Now here we have some more. So at the beginning, we have something about facial recognition, okay? Like the example, this is, okay, this is great. Identify a person, poker table, tricky business, distance between the eyes. Okay, so I really like that. I think this is a very complete one. The only thing I would say, maybe try to separate the information, okay? Because you have a lot of characteristics here, like distance between the eye, photographs, unique code, nose, I guess. scheme biometric, but I'm not sure which one is for which, right? So if they ask you, what does the 3D can do? How are you gonna know which one belongs to which? So maybe you do know, as long as you guys are able to understand your notes, then that's okay, that's all right. But in general, the more visual you do it, the better. Okay. What else? And here we have this one. Okay, so one thing I like about this one is the numbers, right? We have 3D model, this is the second one, and the third one, scheme biometric. Okay, so that's perfect. You have some characteristics here, and you have them separated. I like that. You have something about the introduction, facial recognition, its definition. All right, maybe you're missing the second model. I'm sorry, the first model, the 2D one. And again, I think this might be too little. Okay, you definitely want to have some more information in your notes, but it's okay for the first. So about mine, I did pretty much the same, but I just try to organize it in the same way. Now, of course, you don't have to do it, in the same way. You can do it just in the vertical way. I'm gonna show you some. I don't know where it is. So this person of the other group was doing something like this. I want to show you here. So this is okay as well, So you have something about the intro, the definition here at the beginning. Then you have the traditional method, you have its characteristics. Then you have the new way, its characteristics, the scheme biometric one. And again, okay, so with bullet points, with arrows, with, I don't know, anything for definitions. You even have like a sad face in there. So it looks very organized, and I'm sure it's going to be easier for that person to find all the information they want. Okay, so maybe you can do something like that. Okay, what am I doing? Hold on. Mine is very similar. I try to make it as visual as I could. And I have something about the intro here, the example, and then I have the 2D, 3D scheme biometric model, its definition, its explanation, and then I have the advantages, the disadvantages of each one, okay, with the happy and sad faces. So just try to make it as visual and as organized as it could be, and that's gonna help you a lot. And also that's gonna help you not to miss any information, because when you have like a list of things and you're doing your bullet points, it's easier to follow each element, but if you're just like in everything doing it in just one line, it will be harder for you to, or easier for you to miss something, but if you have like bullet points, it's kind of easy. So yeah, those are some comments. Okay, guys, so any questions so far?
No.
Let's try and answer. I'm sorry, Andrea, were you saying something?
No, I don't have questions. How
Okay.
to write more quickly when I hear that.
Yes, I know that.
I understand, but I forgot the words, and I don't take the notes quickly.
Okay, so yes, I feel you. So that's 100% practice. Just try to listen to as many material as you can and try to practice note taking. So if you can listen to TED Talks or any academic articles that you can find and take notes at the same time, that's going to help you because it's just writing quickly as you listen. So it is practice, it's just practice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's try and answer these questions that we have. So here's the first question. I don't know if anyone could please read it. The first question.
Where does the TV show Las Vegas take place?
So is it in a shopping mall, in a police department, in a casino, or in a crime?
In a casino.
In a casino.
Okay. Do you like it? Give us a different opinion. All right, that's perfect. In a casino. So did you guys remember in your notes?
Hi. Andrea is gone, I think.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, guys. I think my internet is not doing its best today.
Hey.
Hi there, hi again. Okay, thanks for waiting. All right, guys. So what I was saying is I think I saw in some of your notes that you had something like poker tables or gamblers. So yes, that must have been a casino. All right, let's go with the second one. So can anyone please read the second question?
What is a face print?
Okay. So is it a code that identifies a face, distinctive curves in the face, 2D image of a face, or the number of nodal points? Look at your notes.
I think a code.
The code?
A code which identifies a face.
All right. A then. Do you all agree?
I think it is the B, distinctive curves in the face.
Okay. Diego, what about you?
I'm agree with Andrea Urbin. A.
Okay. A. Gaston?
I think a teacher too.
And Freddy?
Sorry, teacher. My connection is really, really bad. I couldn't listen well all the listening. Sorry.
Okay, don't worry. It just happened to me, so I totally get it. Okay, so let's go with A code which identifies a face. So yes, that's correct, that it is a code that identifies a face. This one was a tricky one, but because I think that number of nodal points is translated into this code, and the code is the face print, right? Now, distinctive curves in the face, I don't know, that's just curves in the face, right? I think that's something that's used for the 2D model,
3D.
maybe. Yes. And a 2D image of the face is just like a picture, a drawing, a photo, or something. Okay. Now we have the third one. Maybe Gaston, could you please read that question? Or maybe not. Maybe Diego.
Yes. Identify two problems with 2D facial recognition from the list below.
Okay. So what are two problems with this 2D facial recognition? Anybody remembers? Or look at your notes. Maybe you have something there. Take a look at them.
Maybe one option is B. One problem is B.
Okay, the person in the photograph must face the camera. All right. And the other one?
I think it's B and D. Two problems, no?
Yeah, two problems. So nodal points cannot be measured. All right. Okay, let's try B and D then. So B is correct. D is not. So what would you guys say? What's the other one?
I think it is C.
C? No.
Yes.
A.
Oh,
Not effective for pictures dark. Okay, so you guys were right about B. The person must face the camera, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because 2D is mostly just about something flat. On the other hand, 3D is more about angles and stuff. Now about D, nodal points cannot be measured. I'm not sure about that. I think nodal points can be measured, and I think we have 80. I think they mentioned something like that. And we know that the number of nodal points is translated into a code. So we should be able to measure the number of nodal points. And it's not effective if picture is dark. So I think it's sensitive to light or changes in light. So yes. Okay, so we have the fourth one. Maybe Freddie, could you please read that question? So I'll read it. It is, what is the problem with the 3D technology? It can only be used when the individual is directly facing the camera. The image may change over time. It's impossible to match a 3D to a 2D image or identical twins. So what would you say? What's one problem with the 3D technology?
option D, maybe.
You can distinguish, right, between twins. Andrea, what do you think?
This is something I don't know direct.
I think the option C.
Option C, it's impossible to match a 3D to a 2D image. Okay. So I do remember they talk a lot about matching a 3D image to a 2D image, but I think at the end, it's actually possible. I'm not sure if it's not possible. But let's see, we're gonna try the end. Let's see.
I think
So what were you gonna say, Andrea?
I think A and B are correct and C.
Okay, but it's just one problem. So, something else you guys can do. If you're sure about something, it can lead you to conclusions. So you can use the third question to help you answer the fourth one. So for example, you know that A couldn't be because facing the camera was a problem that the 2D had. And allegedly the 3D one is better than the 2D one, right? So it's like an improvement. So they cannot have the same problem. It's like an improvement of the 2D one. Now, matching a 3D to a 2D image, that's tricky because they do mention something like that. But I don't know if I think they have to do some certain things, but at the end of the day, I think they're able to match a 3D to a 2D image somehow. So I don't know. Okay. Now we have the fifth question. Maybe Andrea Saavedra, do you mind reading that one? I think your microphone is off. Your mic's off.
Sorry. Which two elements below can be measured by skin biometric technology? A, the curve of someone's chin. B, the texture of someone's skin. C, the existence of lines on the face. And D, the distance between the eyes.
Okay, thank you so much. So what can be measured by the skin biometric technology?
The last one. And
C.
Okay.
Letter C is one. And the
All
other
right.
is A and C.
A and C. All right, so Marisol said D.
D, they
Okay.
say in the first method, the distance between the eyes, and the professor mentions in the first method that to the
Okay. All right, that's great. So let's try C, and I think it's B. It's gonna be B. The texture of your skin. So you're right, Andrea. D, the distance between the eyes, is mentioned in the first method. So the 2D technology can do that, measure the distance between the eye. But also think of it this way, right? I mean, even if you don't have the specific details, you should remember, and that's why it's important that you pay attention, and listen and take notes at the same time. Yeah, that do multitasking. So 2D technology was mostly about the shape of your face, right? I think it's like the distance between the eyes, the length of the nose, that kind of stuff. Now the 3D one was about different angles. I think it was, and it was also about some aspects of the shape of your face, right? But they were things that don't change with time. I remember that. And the skin biometric technology, as the name suggests, is mostly about the skin. So it's gotta be something related to the skin. The texture of your skin, the existence of lines on the face. The two of them make a lot of sense, I would say. Now the curve of someone's chin, again, that's just shape, It's not about the skin. So careful there.
Chin is that, no?
Yes, chin is this. And this is jaw. Okay. All right. So now we have the last one. Which of these faces will the skin biometric system be unable to identify? So we have these 4 options. Try to think or look at your notes, try to see what the skin biometric system can or cannot do, and see if any of those characteristics meet any of these pictures here.
the one with glasses.
D.
Okay, D.
I think C, teacher.
C.
Mm, I think not C because the professor said something about recognize blinking and smiling.
Okay. All right. So if blinking and smiling or changes in expression is not a problem, then yes, in that case, it couldn't be C. Do they say anything about the glasses?
Yes, the professor mentioned something. I don't know if it was in that 3D model or skin biometric, but I remember something about the glasses.
Okay. So let's try D. Okay, nope, let's try C. I'm guessing it's not gonna be A, B because that's the only one that's like perfect. So A, it's because of the light. Now, again, think of it the same way as skin. So in which of these pictures are you not able to, take a look at the texture of the skin or lines in the face? Well, we just answering this question. So I think the only one would be A, right? Because even with the glasses, you can observe the skin of that person. All right, guys. So as you can see, most of the questions are gonna be, they obviously follow the same order. So your notes gotta be organized. And they're also about the main, they follow the same structure, that the lecture had. So it's about the problems that each technology had, or the things that they can do or cannot do. You have something about the definition at the beginning, you have something about an example at the beginning. So if you're able to take notes in the same way, then it's going to be easier, right? Because right now, for example, we were saying, okay, they do mention something about the classes, but where was that? Was that in the 3D one, in the skin biometric one? So if you have your notes there, then you're just going to have to go to the skin biometric part, look at the problems or the shortcomings and see, okay, what you have there. If you have something like lightning, and you write off, choose A, and you don't care about the rest. So try to have that. If we look at the transcript, you have some hints, okay? You have like some red flags that allow you to know how everything goes. So for example, we're gonna be looking at facial recognition and the different sources of technology that go into facial recognition. You have something like here, I think this is about the first one, the 2D technology. Then you have, so the new way of recognizing faces is using a 3D model. And then it's not just the measurements, there's also a new development called skin biometrics. And then you have something like, this system is good because blah, 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 I can do this. But the problem is, and then you have a list of things. Or another good thing about this, and then you have the problems again. Right, or here, I don't know. Where is it? It's not perfect though, so you have like the disadvantages there. I think you actually have a word that's like, I don't know. Its other advantages over 3D imagery are that, and then you have a list of things, So pay attention to those hints that you're gonna get over the course of the listening, because that will help you. So is that okay, guys? I don't know if you have any questions about the lectures right now.
And we can listen again in this moment the lecture or not? I think not. But
You want to listen again to the lecture?
in the exam, the TOEFL exam.
Oh no, you can only listen to it once. So you can never play it twice. So yeah, your notes. What I would say, just practice note taking. You can try to do it as realistic as it can be. So if you're gonna take it the test at a test center, maybe, then you can just practice on a piece of paper, a pen. If you're taking it at home, though, you can practice in a whiteboard that you would be using, or in a transparent sheet that you're gonna be taking notes there in the test. So with a marker and everything. So make it as realistic as it could be. Try not to take notes by typing or computers. So in practice, that's it. I think practice is the key here, especially in the listening and reading, I would say. There's not much that you can do. Okay, guys. So any questions then? Any other question? I can send you this link if you want right away. There you have some examples that you can use to practice. All right. So please, before you go, don't forget the survey. I think in this case, because some of you guys are ending the course, well, for some of you, it's your last class with me. You have some more questions at the end of the survey. So you could also answer those before leaving. Okay. So I got 2 out of 4, 50%. I think I'm missing 2. All right, and now I got 3 out of 4. So there's just 1. Okay, guys. So thank you so much. I'll see you next class. We'll move on to a different section.
Thank you, Andrea.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Bye.